Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session for ITS Connect. My name is Jennifer Loudiana from Information Technology Services, and today I'm going to talk about using your iPad. Being that time of year where people are getting new iPads for the holidays, or you might have one and you may want to know some tips and tricks, maybe some new apps that you could try out that you can use at work or for fun. We'll talk a little bit about both. I want to just go over a few things before I get started with the demonstration. The iPad I'm using has iOS 7. So if you have an older iPad, you might have iOS 6. They work very similar. There are a couple of new features in iOS 7 you might notice. So if you have 6, you might be inclined to upgrade to 7. There are some tips. I'll give you some little things that I have found when using the iPad that are helpful. And then there are a couple of apps that are related to services that we offer for campus that you can also use on your iPad. I've listed 3 there. Lynda.com has an app, Adobe Connect has an app, and Blackboard also has a mobile app. And then lastly, as I said, just some apps of interest that you might like to look at, or depending on your work or your interests, you may want to try out. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to switch over to my iPad. You may want to click on your Adobe Connect on the top right, the button that says full screen. That way you'll be able to see it on the full screen instead of just in the small one that's on your screen, the 2/3 size. So now I've switched over to my iPad, and I'm going to make it full screen now. So you should be able to see this on your screen. This is just my first home screen. One nice feature about the iPad is you can actually create organization for your apps as you get more and more apps. This one has mostly what's delivered on the first screen, but if you start downloading apps, you might want to actually have separate screens, maybe for work and separate one for home. Maybe if your children use it, you may want to have a screen for them. Home screens actually are the screens that you scroll through. So as I'm scrolling to the left, I currently have 3 different screens that I'm using. Also, one nice thing about iOS 7 in particular that you may not know if you have iOS 6 is there's actually a control center that you can swipe up from the bottom, and you can control a lot of things on your iPad. And mine's not swiping so quick today. We'll try that in a few minutes. One other thing you can do on your iPad, on the bottom there's a round button. So if you don't have one, this will make you more familiar. And that's called your home button. So if you touch that button, it will always bring you back to the first home screen. If you double click it, basically, it will bring up all the apps that you have open, and you'll be able to scroll back and forth. So if I am looking through and I was on my home screen and I want to switch over to my settings, which I had open, I can do that. If I just double click it again, I can also go back to my home screen by tapping on it, and it will open that up as well. Another thing that you can do, which I'll show you a little later, is actually you can close. Actually, I'll close my settings while we're here by just swiping up, and it will close the app. This is kind of important to remember because one thing that will drain the battery on your apps is if you have apps that are accessing the internet, let's say you have wireless on, they will just keep running, so it'll keep updating. So you may want to close apps that you're not using for the evening when you're done, when you're doing that on your iPad. Some other things to note, you might notice here on the settings there's this little red number 1. There's also another one in this collection here, number 7. Those actually are notifications. So your app might send you a notification. The one that is in my settings I just got this morning, and it's letting me know there's an update to iOS 7. So I can go into my settings and install that update whenever I'm ready, but it's an easy way to see if there's a change to your application. Some applications you have may send you messages. So if you have gaming applications, banking, they might actually send you little pop-up notes, and you'll know to go in and look at those as well. Another example I want to show you when I was talking about settings is you can control settings for your different apps. So you'll see here at the bottom there's a couple of different applications. Facebook is one of the most common. So you can see how you can allow Facebook access to things. If you don't want it to access your calendar or your contacts, those are actually turned off on this iPad. But in the bottom here, notice I have access for that. I can just swipe over and the little buttons will turn it off. So that allows you to set up certain settings for your different apps. If I scroll to the top here, you can also see I have the different modes. So I can turn airplane mode on, which limits your access to a network. I can turn on or off Wi-Fi or choose my Wi-Fi network. Right now we're on Case Wireless. Bluetooth, if you have that. If you have a cellular data plan, you can turn that on and off. And also if you have the personal hotspot. So those are all right there on top in the settings. Also, there's the notification center here, which allows you to control when you have notifications. Do you want them in the summary, notification view? Do you want to see the little red icons? You can also set that up for different applications to remind you as well. The control center, which I will show you in a minute, you can set up when that appears and how that works. And then do not disturb. If you have your iPad set up to be able to use AirDrop or AirPlay, actually you can set a do not disturb, which means if somebody finds yours in there, they won't be able to connect to it. So I'm going to go back to our home screen. You can also go back by just touching the home button down here, and it'll always bring you back to your first home screen. So you might have 4 or 5 home screens, but it'll always bring you back to the first one. So I'm going to try this control panel again, see if it'll come up here for me. So I'm not sure what your experience is. Something I found out recently, if you are interested in an iPad, you can actually check them out at the Kelvin Smith Library. And I also noticed they have some Apple computers. So if you're interested in trying out some of these products, they do have iPads and Apple computers that you can just check out with your ID. And you can try it out, see what you like, dislike, if it's the thing for you, if you're looking at buying one. On the bottom of the screen here, I've pulled up what is the control panel. So you remember we went into our settings and we had a couple of options that we could use to control that. This, if you let it, is available on all of your apps. So if you're in an app and you want to pull it up, you can just swipe from the bottom and pull up that application. It actually controls, you'll see on the left-hand side here, it will control your music or last audio. So if you had a book playing and you turned it off and you come in here, it'll show that book and you can hit play and just listen to it from wherever you are. The same with music. Mine in particular has this last song that I listened to. Also below that is your volume, so you can control it right from here. On the right is the brightness for your iPad, so you can control how bright it is. So if it's nighttime and you're in a dim room, you can make it dimmer so that it's a lot easier for you to see. If you prefer to have it brighter, you can control the brightness of the screen there too. The middle section here as well has a couple of icons. The first one is the airplane mode, which we saw in the settings, so you can control that right from here. If you are on an airplane and they say you need to put away your devices, you can switch it right to airplane mode from the control panel. The next one is your wireless. You can turn it on and off from here. After that one is the Bluetooth option. Your do not disturb you can set right from here, as well as this last feature, which I just found out. You can actually set your orientation. So as you know, in an iPhone, iPad, it'll go portrait or it'll switch to landscape. So what you can do is you can turn it on when you're in the orientation that you want, and it will stay that way. So I just turned it on, so if I were to pick up my iPad and move it, it would stay in the landscape like it looks on your screen right now. If I want to turn that orientation off, I can just touch it, and then I can turn my iPad, it'll flip to whichever orientation I have. So that's a nice feature. Also on the right hand side, you will see 2 other buttons. One of them is to go right to your clock stopwatch app. which has a stopwatch on it, a clock, an alarm, things like that. The other is for your camera. So if you happen to be in something and realize, I want to take a picture, you can just bring up your control panel, click on the camera, it'll bring up your camera, and you can use your iPad to take a photo. So those are some of the things that are in there. Also on the bottom, you will see AirDrop. This application is in iOS 7, and it allows you to share what's on your iPad or iDevice with others. So if I touch that, it should bring up a menu. So you can turn it off, which right now I have it off. You can allow only your contacts to AirDrop to you and share, and you can allow everyone. So if you have it set for everyone, that means it'll show up for others to be able to drop. So I would recommend either having it off or having just contacts only, which are people that you have in your contacts list within your iOS device. Next to that, you'll see it says Jennifer's MacBook Pro. This is actually what's called AirPlay, and this is another collaboration, so it allows you to share your device and make it able for people to see. So I have my MacBook able to be seen, and I've been able to share my iPad with that. So you can set that up. So if you want to have this at home and you want to share it with your Apple TV, you can set it up like that. One thing you do need to remember is it has to be on the same network. So if you're interested in the AirDrop or the AirPlay, at the end I have a link to some information from Apple on how those work and how you can set those up for your iPad or iDevice. So that's how the control panel works. I'm going to actually close that out right now. The next thing I would like to show you is how we can move around and how you can create new home screens. So I mentioned I had 3 here. So if I want to move something to another home screen, you would actually touch it. So I actually touch the item and hold it until they jiggle. You'll see them moving. And you can either X out items. There's a little X on some of the apps. You can actually just delete them, or you can move them. So if I take my finger and I'm going to drag it over to this next screen, and now I've created another home screen. So now if I scroll through and I go back to the beginning, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 home screens. So that's how you can organize apps that way. Also, you can move apps around. So if you want to move them, you would do the same thing. If you touch it and hold the app, it will make them all jiggle. And you can actually drag the apps around and reorder them right on the screen. So if you've created a home page and you have all your apps on there that you've moved, then you can actually drag them around so that you can make them easier for you to see and to be organized how you would like them. When you're done doing that, you can actually hit the home button again, which is that big button at the bottom, and that will stop that and everything will stay where it is. So if I scroll through, I can now go back and there's my home screen that I just created with the app. Another thing you can do is create collections of apps. You may have noticed when I was talking about the gaming, I have an app collection that has all of the apps that I want for gaming. I have one for books, finance, entertainment, etc. And that's another thing that you can do is organize everything in groups if that works for you. If you get a lot of apps on your iPad, then you're going to end up not knowing where they are, so you can group them together. And in order to do that, it's very simple. You would just take one of the apps, so you need to have 2 to start it. So I'm going to make one for news. So I'm going to click on my Channel 3 app, drag it over my WHBC app, and now it has a news app. So it came up with news by default, but if I touch news, it will actually bring up my keyboard. And I'm going to just change it to TV apps just so that you can see the example. Done. And so now it's still jiggling. If I click my home button, it'll have stopped, and now I have a group of TV apps. And if I touch my background, I will now see that grouping here on the bottom. So then when I come in, if I want to just look at those apps, I can just touch that app, it'll open, and it'll show all the apps that I have. Another thing, you can have multiple screens within these. Just for an example, I have the gaming. They're very small, so I could only put so many. So you can have multiple, as many apps as you want in there. If you want to drag an app to an existing collection, you can do the same thing. So if I wanted to drag, let's see, find an app that I have. Let me drag videos into my work. So I would do the same thing. I can just hold it, drag it up over the collection, and now it will pop into my collection. And so now if I click on if I stop the jiggling by hitting the home button and I touch the work, now I have the videos in my work collection of apps. So those are a couple of things you can do to organize your iPad, make it easier. If you have an iPad mini or a larger iPad, you can do this all the same on either one. If you have an iPad mini, sometimes organizing makes it a lot easier because your real estate is a little bit smaller. So now I'll talk about a couple of applications that you may want to use. I'm going to talk about a few that are related to some of the applications we provide in ITS. So the first one I'm going to talk about is lynda.com, and that is a nice mobile app. So if you log into your lynda.com and you have set up playlists, if you have courses you've taken, courses you want to take, all of that information will show up in your lynda.com mobile app. So I just opened my app. When you first open your app for lynda.com, you're going to have to sign in. So there are a couple of choices. The choice you need to choose is called Web Portal, and it will open, and you need to put in our web portal URL, which is case.edu/Lynda, Lynda, and then just click go. And what it will do then, it will open up the single sign-on for Case, and you can sign in with your network ID and password, and then it will bring you to the starting screen, which has all of the latest releases. So that's where you'll get started. Once you're in lynda.com, if you click on the top left, you will see a little row of lines, and that's actually going to open your menu to the left on lynda.com and give you a lot of choices. So right now I have it set on latest releases, so I want to go in and see what's there. I can search by subject, so if I click on subjects, it will look very similar to what you see when you do subjects within the browser application. If I touch that again and open it, I can also look by software, another search that's available on the desktop. I can search by author. And then I can also look at my courses. I don't have any currently, but if I had courses that I was working on with assignments and things, I would see those here. And then lastly, our downloaded courses. And this is one thing that is nice. Since the iPad is portable, it allows you to download courses onto your iPad. So for any reason you're not connected, you can actually still watch the videos. So I have one downloaded here that I downloaded yesterday that I could play. Also, if I go into my courses, I can go and click on the very top here, this option here, and touch on that, and I will see my playlists. So on the left-hand side, you will see the playlists that I've created. So one of them is called iPad Tutorials. So let's go in there. And there are 3 different iPad videos that I've collected and put into a playlist. So when I'm ready, I can go into this playlist and I can just start playing it and watching it on my mobile device. So if I actually open one, I will show you how to download. So you'll notice it opens. On the left-hand side, you will see the courses. You'll see the video in the center. You can hit the play button. It will start playing. And then you'll see the description information. But where you would download is you need to open the video, and you'll see a download button on the top right, and that will start downloading. One thing to remember, you need to keep your device active or it will actually stop downloading. It'll pause, and it will tell you that. So if you suddenly the screen comes on or you have the lock on when you're downloading, when you come back in, you will actually touch the download button. It'll say, do you want to resume? It was interrupted. And then it will resume downloading the rest of the video for you. So that's kind of nice. Also, there's the button here if you want to add it to a playlist, a different playlist, you can. If I touch on that, I will see all the playlists, and then I can add it to a new playlist there as well. So this is a really nice application. If I touch on Done, it'll go back to the playlist that I had. Also, you can look at your course history, you'll see here. So you can see how far you went, all the different courses that you looked at. So all of this information is already available in the browser version of lynda.com, but it's also available in the mobile app, which is really nice. If you travel and you have some time and you want to learn something, you can still use lynda.com, and it is free of charge. The mobile app that you download is free of charge. So that's another way that you can use lynda.com. So I'm actually going to click on my home button here and close it. And I'm going to go to another app that we have here in ITS that has a mobile application, and that is Adobe Connect. You can download the Adobe Connect app. It's not as robust as the browser, but you can do a lot of the same things. I have a meeting URL. You do need to have your meetings already set up to be able to use the mobile app. So if I click on Next, it will ask me to sign in, and then I can just click Enter. It works the same, so if you're a presenter or a host, you will be able to share from your mobile device. If you are not, you will not be able to share. So this defaulted in and tells me nothing is being shared in this meeting. But if I went to the shared, you'll notice I am a host or presenter, and you can see where it says Start Sharing. I can also see the attendees list, which is just myself right now. I can enable my camera. I can look at the chat and use the chat feature and also the notes feature. And then as a host, on the bottom left, you will see you can raise your hand option, the camera, the microphone, and then there's another menu there. So that is also available. There's more information from Adobe Connect on how to use their mobile app, but that is another feature in an app that you can use on your iPad. So another one that we do have is Blackboard Learn. You can download a mobile app. Currently, that actually has quite a few features that you can use in the mobile app. You can enter your school. So when you download the app, it'll ask you what school. You can start typing Case Western. It will come up. Tap on that, and then it will have you do your single sign-on to log in, and then it will take you in. You can actually use it for announcements, blogs, content, discussions, grades, journals. Mobile tests can be taken using that, looking at your class roster and the tasks. There is currently a fee for that app. It is $1.99 for a year, or I think it's $4.99 or $5.99 for life. We are working on changing that, but if you do want to use it right now, there is a fee for using the Blackboard Learn app. So that's the three that we have applications for that are mobile that we use in our work environment and student environment here at Case. I'd also like to point out some other organizational apps that might help you that also work with Google and some other applications. So one of them is called Quick Office, and this allows you to create and edit Microsoft Office documents in Word. It also will allow you to look at your Google Drive documents. So you'll see I brought this up. It's currently defaulted to documents that are on my iPad. So I have all of the documents that came with Quick Office that download. And then I also have an iPad example, it says. And that's actually a PowerPoint I created on my iPad. So if I click on the very bottom here, where it has this little plus, it'll allow me to start creating a PowerPoint presentation, Excel spreadsheet, Word doc, or just a text file. And when you create those on your iPad, then you can use them elsewhere as well. So I'll show you what my presentation looks like. It's very simple presentation. I can look at each slide. I can set that up, and then on the top right, you'll see here's the play button, so it'll play and you can swipe through. So if you are using your iPad and showing a slideshow, you can actually use this application as well. It will also connect to your Google Drive, so you will see that here, and then I can pull up my Google Drive applications that are shared with me, ones that I've created, starred, recent. So you can also use it within those as well. So if I go back to my iPad, then I can see those that are on the iPad itself. So that's how Quick Office works. And that's nice because it does interface with our Google Apps as well. Another tool that I have found that has a desktop version and a mobile version, and it is free of charge. I believe some of these that are free may have a basic app, and then you can pay to upload, to go to the next level, and pay for that service. So it's called Evernote. If you've used this before, you can collect notes, pictures, upload documents, and everything within this application. And there is an app for your desktop as well. And I see we're running close to time, so I'm going to go through a couple of others kind of quickly. Also, there are some apps for documents, and I wanted to mention these. This one's called Bamboo Paper, and this is an app that allows you to write on your iPad. So that's kind of nice. It actually lets you write on your iPad. So you can write with your finger, or if you have a stylus, which I have one here that I can show you, that you can write on as well. But they just look like little pens, and they have a little rubber nub that you can use to write on your iPad, and those are kind of nice too if you're taking notes in a meeting and you don't want to type with your iPad. It also comes with a notes feature. This one actually requires a keyboard, so you want to make sure that you want to use that and type versus writing. So that comes with your iPad as the notes feature. Let me see if I have any others. Oh, another one I wanted to mention that's really cool, and you might use this at the Cleveland Museum of Art. If you have been to Gallery 1, they have a large wall of pictures, and you can actually take your iPad in, and they will actually let you download the works of art that you like, and you can put them on your iPad. It will describe them, has information about them. It'll even tell you what gallery they're in. So you can create your own custom tour of different artworks in the galleries. But what you will get when you go to the Museum of Art, they have someone there, is you will get a little disc like this, and you will slide that behind your iPad, and when you set it on the pedestal, it will actually link it up with that, and you can just drag the pieces of artwork onto your iPad. And when you open up their Art Lens app, which is free of charge, you will actually be able to see regular tours and use it to take a tour, as well as look at your own favorites and tour guide maps. So if I go down here, you can go to the tours, you can see what's going on today, and then also at the bottom is a favorites. So these are some of the artworks that I downloaded when I was over there looking at things, and it will give you information about them and where they are in the museum. So that's something that you can use for work and fun, but it's also in the University Circle area, which you can go to as well. iTunes U is another app that we may be having professors use, and if you have that and you've created courses, you can actually download that app onto your iPad to take courses using iTunes U. I just have a couple of sample courses now within here, but as you use your own app, you can put more courses in there, and that's what that looks like. So we have only a few minutes left, so I'm going to switch back just to see if we have any quick questions that I can answer. Let's see. And it looks like I don't have any questions. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you learned something new about your iPad if you already have one. Again, if you have iOS 7, a lot of these items translate to the iOS devices, and then very quickly I will show you the I will give you some links to actually go out and look at more about iOS 7 and the Apple iPad in particular. So I'm going to run through here really quick. But thank you for attending today. Again, KSL Library loans out iPads with your ID, so if you want to try them out. And then also I have a link there for Apple support information, and then as always, you can contact our service desk if you need further assistance. So thank you for attending today. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you next month in December for our ITS Connect session. Thank you. Have a great day.